Miss Chauke,
Good evening.
my fellow Limpopian. Yeah. So this was deliberate, it was intentional that bringing Women's Month into a nice culmination. That will be the last interview of the evening. And I said to you earlier on, yeah, Her Royal Highness, we thank you for honoring our invitation and to looking stunning, so
Well, thank you. I think I am the one who's really, truly honored to be here today. I think this is actually such a very inspiring platform. The audience has really, really been amazing, and the speakers before me. Wow, I don't know if I'll be able to top. I know it's not a competition. I'm just saying, I don't know if I'll be able to top that. And of course, you do look stunning yourself.
thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
It's that moment you're talking about. I think Tuso also mentioned it. I can't remember who else. That as women, we also need to learn to fix our crowns, right? Because magic happens, especially when we are that force as a collective. So thank you so much for the kind words. Yeah, great. Who's this beautiful, talented, intelligent woman? I went through your LinkedIn today and I said, let me get to know this lady before the interview. Yeah, who are you?
So first and foremost, I'm a mother. I'm a single mother. I've got 3 most annoying children. But as you've rightfully introduced me, my name is Mikateko Chauke. I grew up in Limpopo from Malamulele. Um, like some of the speakers before me, I also aspired to be a lawyer in my heydays. But there was one thing that I always knew that I was good at. I was always very much self-aware in terms of, from a young age, in terms of what is it that I'm good at. And at the time, I knew, even when I was in high school, was that I'm a very impatient person. So I knew that being a lawyer was going to take me years. I mean, you've all heard from being, I don't know, all that stuff about being candidate attorneys, and I don't even know what that means, but all I knew is that it took a long time to get to where it is today, and I knew I didn't have the patience to do that. But like all of us, we've got a calling, if you're a person who's really, really self-aware and you know who you are, you would tap into yourself and you realize that which you are good at is really how you're supposed to serve in this world. And I knew from a very young age is that mine was the power to influence through communication. And I was impatient at the same time. So I automatically knew that being a lawyer was not going to cut it for me. So and that's how I went into PR, into communications, and I became a PR professional. Studied at the Val, and I had the pleasure of meeting Vina. He was a lecturer at the time at the Val University of Technology. So when I left the university, I studied. I think I did my diploma, I did my BTech. And after that, I worked for a couple of organizations, including a few advertising agencies, PR agencies. Eventually, I started my own consulting, as a PR person. And he reached out to me the one time and he says, you do realize that there are so many people who aspire to be where you are today. And I remember he called me back to the Val and I had to address this auditorium full of young students who are studying my profession. And that was the very first speaking opportunity I got. So I now had this massive task ahead of me of letting these young kids into the world where I was. But I had to paint it so beautifully because it is a great profession, by the way. But also inspire them in such a way that they don't lose hope in terms of how to navigate the industry. And after that, I was also given an opportunity to mentor a couple of the students from the Val University of Technology. And for a number of years, I did that. Um, it came a change in my life when I moved from consulting back to corporate, and when I was studying for my MBA. Believe me, for anyone who's starting an MBA, don't ever do it if you've got a 1-year-old and a 9-month and a 6-month-old child at the times, because doing an MBA, and so there's a 4-year-old, a 1-year-old, and a 6-month-old doing an MBA, and that to me was a really, really
Yeah.
great struggle, and that's when I realized that I can't juggle all of it. As much as I had this notion, I don't know how it was bestowed upon me that I could be superwoman, but I realized that actually there are limitations to even being a superwoman. And, if you're running your own company, you would appreciate the fact that, you're a one-man show, as one of the speakers rightfully pointed out in the beginning, that a lot of the times you are the board member, you are the account manager, you are
All that.
the salesperson, you are the one who's doing, you are the writer, you are the pitch person, you are everything, And that's when I decided to go back into corporate, because I realized my own limitations again, in terms of what it was that I was able to do. And that's how I ended up back in corporate.
Oh wow, what a journey, a colorful journey actually. Yeah, and some of the takeaways from what you've shared. I mean, you spoke about your calling, right? Which is more purpose-driven life. That since from a young age, being self-aware as well. I gather, a high level of, emotional intelligence as well from a very young age, but also looking at some of the strengths and the limitations and being able to be authentic and genuine about the things that you can do and the things that you cannot do, and the significance of that in terms of achieving your vision, yeah, which is quite important.
You know, Throughout the years, the one thing that I've learned is that you will never be celebrated where you're not meant to be. And that for me was the biggest lesson, that do not force yourself to fit into spaces that where you are not supposed to fit into, because it's only going to cause you a lot of strife and pain. And it's only because you're not supposed to be there. But personally, what I learned is that my job is not to be liked. It is not up to me to make you like me. My job is to be my true self, my own authentic self, and to live as loudly as I can with this bold voice that I'm talking to you with. But it also comes at a price. There are certain areas where people like this notion of, oh, we do not have enough strong women. We want strong women to come and represent us, to be a part of us, because there aren't just enough of those around. And then you realize that when you get there, actually, it's not the strong woman that they are looking for. And especially when you start challenging their ideas,
Yep.
it is to be liked, to have brought in a strong woman. But when you are sitting at the table, the minute you start challenging some ideals and certain decisions, now you are seen to be rebellious in a way. And the other side of that I've really learned is that as women, we don't celebrate each other enough. I think we are very quick to look at each other as competition or competitors. When another woman sits at the table, instead of embracing each other so that we can change the status quo, I think a lot of the times we tend to want to push each other down.
Yeah.
We want to compete with one another. There's enough room for all of us. I mean, as it is, there aren't enough women in leadership positions as it is today. So it still amazes me as to how we still fight and bicker amongst each other when we should be elevating each other as women. And what I'm saying is nothing new, by the way.
Yeah.
And the reason I choose to bring it up is because it is still so prevalent that it's amazing how we tend to overlook it. It is so prevalent to an extent where it's there, it's going on every single day. We learn to live with it, but none of us are actually addressing those type of issues. And I'm not saying that I have the answers in terms of how we need to address it, but I think it's about time we need to start talking about it a lot more openly, and we need to start recognizing it, because we talk a good game as women. We talk a good game about women empowerment, about looking for women in leadership positions, but when we actually put one of us there, it's actually a different thing,
Yeah.
and we act very differently when that happens. And
Yeah.
it's just a sad reality, honestly. It's very
It
sad.
is, yeah.
Yeah.
And I always say that it's you and I's responsibility and the women in this room to start changing the narrative instead of just repeating history, right? Because we owe it also to the young generations. Otherwise, our young girls are still going to repeat the same mistakes. So we really need to start, as a collective, doing something about this and ending this toxic, cycle. Yeah. So I'm curious to find out, in terms of you from consultancy and going back to corporate, because corporate can be a monster, right? That how your journey, how have you evolved over the years? I find a lot of, especially black women in corporate, that they tend to wear facades, the masks, in order to fit in and not being authentic to themselves. How have you been able to navigate all that and staying true to yourself?
It's it's a continuous journey. It's something that you do on a daily basis. I mean, you meet different personalities and you play different roles. And I don't think it's one that one would say that I have mastered the art of navigating through the corporate world. Some places you sell yourself short because you want to fit in. You want to fit in with the culture, you want to fit in with the environment. Um, in certain instances, you're like, you know what? I'm just going to challenge this environment right here, and do what needs to be done. And it takes a lot of boldness and a lot
Yes.
of courage to be able to do that. So it's a continuous struggle having to navigate. I mean, no two environments are the same. It depends on which environment you go into. You tend to recognize the lay of the land. You learn how things operate in a certain environment. It might not operate the same way as it did in the previous environment. And then you find a way to sort of understand where your skills will be better served. But again, what I always said, I'm going to go back to what I said before. You will never ever be celebrated where you are not meant to be. If you are meant to be in that place, even if it's just for a short journey, for a short period, you will excel. But if it's time to move on, learn to tap into your intuition, learn to tap into your surroundings, and move on when you want to be, when the time comes for you to move on, because life is a journey, and we need to be we need to treat ourselves in a good manner to be able to understand that I need to move on. If something no longer serves you, move on, because it means that your journey it doesn't end here. There's another door that is going to open. There's one of the speakers spoke about a vision with provision. Always believe that there is going to be provision in terms of where you're going. So those are the things that we need to continuously do on a daily basis. But never ever keep yourself stuck in a place where you feel like you don't belong. Continuously learn. One of the things I always advocate is that never ever tell yourself that I have arrived and stop learning. Self-development is one of the greatest things that we can do as women. Always continue to find avenues to self-develop and learn new things on a daily basis, because it is those things that are going to help you to advance to the next level.
Awesome. Great. It's quite a mouthful. I love the growth mindset, as well. And you keep on repeating, that never, ever, ever staying where you're not appreciated. And I just want to find out that from your own experience, if you have ever been in a space like that, as we wrap it up, and what are some of the lessons learned, and what is it that made you to make that quantum leap here to the other side?
You know, we always talk about a glass ceiling. You perform certain tasks, you work in certain environments until you realize that I'm not learning anything anymore.
Yeah.
There is absolutely anything new that I'm learning in this environment. And what that does to you is it frustrates you because your life becomes so monotonous that you know that from the moment I wake up, these are the challenges. In fact, you can even solve the challenges before you can even get
Yeah.
there because you know what's coming.
Yeah.
And when that starts to happen to you, then you know it's time to move on to the next level. So, just always be aware. And like I say, the greatest thing or the greatest favor you can ever do to yourself is to always know who you are and be self-aware, your strengths, your weaknesses, because when the time comes, you will know that, okay, now I've reached my limit, or this environment is no longer big enough to cater for me. These are the things that I've learned to recognize that need to push me to the next level. I'm a very spiritual person that sometimes I tune into my spirituality where I look to it as a guide as well. So when I start seeing those signs, when those things come, then I know that it's time for me to move on.
Yeah.
There's no need for me to hang on in this place. And where am I going to? I trust and I believe that it's going to reveal itself as time goes on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as we wrap it up, one of the themes that I'm getting from this evening with all the speakers, talking about preparation, right? That be ready when that opportunity knocks. But again, you're saying when you realize that you've been on one place for a long time without growing, your life is monotonous. You need to do some introspection and move and do something about that.
Definitely.
Yeah. And from our side is we need to have more conversations like this as women, to build each other up. And we shouldn't have this kind of conversations only during the month of August. This, should be like the usual conversations around the table. Last time Nosy came with her children to this session. We need to start inviting the young ones, as well. We've been talking about it as we go back to Ramkiki, and not just the girls only, because the boy child also matters as well.
That is, sorry to interrupt. That is quite true. I made a joke earlier this evening to my partner before I left the house, and I said, I've got a series of all these talks that I'm supposed to be doing throughout this. In fact, this week there's a lot of them, right? And I said, it's all about uplifting each other as women. It's all about women empowerment. And I said, it's quite funny how we all want to wake up and do it during August. And I find it so draining because it's all about the same issues over and over again, that at some point I kind of feel like we don't go into the next level.
Yeah.
We don't go into the next stage.
Yeah.
And I said, I kind of wish that we would advance, we would move on to the next chapter, as opposed to, I'm not saying that we shouldn't be empowering each other as women, but I'm saying that let's do this not only during this month.
It's been monotonous,
right?
During
But
the
also
August.
let's find a way to elevate the conversation so it doesn't become about, oh, this is how I did it, this is how I handled this is how I, as a woman, I'm handling this thing. There has got to be something bigger within ourselves that we also tackle as women, but not exclude our male counterparts, because we could learn from each other, and we should be learning from each other.
Yes.
Like I said before, it is just unfortunate that, the amount of women that you would count today in leadership positions is far less than our male counterparts. And those are the type of things that we still need to address. And it doesn't mean that we are less capable, but there's something wrong there that we just need to fix.
Well, on that note, To be continued.
To be continued.
Dot.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Thank you.